Good afternoon and thank you for coming. My name is John Brown and I am the staff sergeant for the RCMP Major Crimes Team that investigated the homicide of Birinder Singh. On March 14th, 2026, the Leduc RCMP received a report of a shooting that occurred on the QEII just south of Leduc. The victim, 22-year-old Birinder Singh, was driving with two friends when he was shot by the occupant or one of the occupants of a Ford F-150 pickup. Despite being shot, Birinder and his two friends were able to safely stop his vehicle. However, Birinder died of his injuries shortly thereafter. The Alberta RCMP Major Crimes Unit quickly took charge of this investigation, and messaging was sent out to the public asking for assistance in obtaining dash camera footage of the suspect vehicle as well as assistance identifying the suspects. Without going into details, I can report to you that the RCMP received several tips with regards to both. On March 17th, 2026, RCMP located what we believe to be the suspect vehicle in the area of Canoe Lake, Saskatchewan. As has already been reported, on March 21st, 2026, RCMP arrested 18-year-old Lloydminster resident Jimmy Gassner in Canoe Lake, Saskatchewan. Gassner has been charged with second-degree murder. Today, we are announcing that on March 26, 2026, a second suspect, 23-year-old Deon Libsekal, who was already in custody on unrelated matters, was arrested in Edmonton. He has been charged with second-degree murder and accessory after the fact. Libsekal has been taken before a justice of the peace and remanded into custody for his next court date set for April 2nd, 2026 at the Alberta Court of Justice in Leduc. RCMP believe that we now have arrested and charged all suspects in relation to this incident. I am aware of a great deal of speculation regarding potential motivations in such senseless crime and tragedy. An important part of any homicide investigation is developing an understanding of such motivations. To not undermine the court process, I am limited to what I can say at this time, but what I can say is that the RCMP do have some understanding of the motivations in this case. We have seen no evidence to suggest that this attack was motivated by hatred or racial bias against any specific group. I would like to thank the public, whose tips were very valuable, as well as the officers of the RCMP Major Crimes Unit, Leduc, Lloydminster, and the detachments in Saskatchewan, Maidstone, Beauval, Meadow Lake, and Canoe Lake, whose tireless efforts have resulted in the successful investigation into this senseless tragedy. Thank you.
After my introduction, we're going to do the French portion next, and then we'll go into the Q&A. Bonjour et merci d'être venu. Je m'appelle Matthew Howell et je suis un policier d'information au public de la GRC en Alberta. Je vous présente aujourd'hui un point d'affaires sur le meurtre de Birinder Singh. Le 14 mars 2026, la GRC de Leduc a reçu un appel signalant une fusillade survenue sur la QEII, juste au sud de Leduc. La victime, Birinder Singh, âgé de 22 ans, conduisait avec deux amis lorsqu'elle a été abattue par l'un des occupants d'une camionnette Ford F-150. Bien qu'elle ait été percutée, Birinder a réussi à immobiliser son véhicule en toute sécurité, mais elle est décédée de ses blessures peu après. Le groupe des crimes majeurs de la GRC en Alberta a rapidement pris en charge cette enquête et un message a été diffusé auprès du public pour demander de l'aide afin d'obtenir des images du véhicule suspect ainsi que l'aide pour identifier les suspects. Sans entrer dans les détails, je peux vous informer que la GRC a reçu des informations concernant ces deux points. Le 17 mars 2026, la GRC a localisé ce que nous croyons être le véhicule suspect dans la région de Canoe Lake, en Saskatchewan. Comme cela a déjà été rapporté, le 21 mars 2026, la GRC a arrêté Jimmy Gassner, un résident de Lloydminster, âgé de 18 ans, à Canoe Lake, en Saskatchewan. Gassner a été inculpé de meurtre au deuxième degré. Nous annonçons aujourd'hui que le 26 mars 2026, un deuxième suspect, Deon Libsekal, âgé de 23 ans, est déjà en détention pour des inculpations non liées à cette enquête, a été arrêté à Edmonton. Il a été inculpé de meurtre au deuxième degré et de complicité après les faits. Libsekal a été présenté devant un juge de paix et placé en détention provisoire. Sa prochaine comparution est fixée au 2 avril 2026 devant le palais de justice de l'Alberta à Leduc. La GRC estime avoir désormais arrêté et inculpé tous les suspects liés à cet incident. Je suis conscient des nombreuses spéculations concernant les motivations potentielles d'un crime et d'une tragédie aussi insensée. Une partie importante de toute enquête sur un homicide consiste à comprendre ses motivations. Afin de ne pas nuire au processus judiciaire, je ne peux pas en dire plus pour l'instant. Ce que je peux dire, c'est que la GRC a une certaine compréhension des motivations dans cette affaire et que nous n'avons trouvé aucune preuve suggérant que cette attaque était motivée par la haine ou des préjudices raciaux à l'encontre d'un groupe spécifique. Je tiens à remercier le public dont les informations ont été très précieuses, ainsi que les agents du groupe de crimes majeurs de la GRC en Alberta et les détachements de Leduc et Canoe Lake et plusieurs autres détachements au travers de la province d'Alberta et de Saskatchewan. Les efforts inlassables de ces divers groupes ont permis de mener à bien l'enquête de cette tragédie insensée. Merci. All right, so we're going to enter a Q&A portion. This is our first hybrid media avail, as you know, so we have an online portion and you guys are here as well. So what we'll do is we'll do one question each around. We'll go to the online portion. If there's anything there, we'll have those questions answered, and then we'll go once again around for questions. So we'll start from left to right. Line by left, I guess. Nope, keep going.
Hi.
Oh.
Sam CBC National. Has the RCMP identified a motive that you can't share with the public?
Yes, I could say that we have identified a motive. We just, like you said, we can't share it with the public at this time.
Is this totally random, this crime?
I can say it's partially random.
Why can you say partial?
Part of it is the motivation, so I can't say that it's completely random, but the victims are completely random. I can say that.
And how can you rule out hate crime, because that is part of the speculation and concern from a lot of other communities?
So I can't completely get into the details as to why we can rule it out, as it was part of our investigation, and it's still under investigation. So at this time, I can say, though, that the investigative part of it that we utilized completely showed that it was absolutely not racially motivated.
Is it a road rage incident?
No, it was not.
The part where you're saying it is partially motivated, like, are you able to elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, if you can't say specifically, like, what elements would you be looking into to kind of determine that it is partially motivated?
So I can say that we've arrested 2 suspects and we interviewed them. And a part of that investigation, when interviewed them, we got details that provided us part of the motivation. And then part of that motivation we investigated further, and we're still investigating that portion of it further. And that's why I can't provide complete details on it.
Next in line, anyone city? No?
Sarah from the CBC. In terms of the second suspect who you arrested, you mentioned that he was already in custody in unrelated matters. Were you able to say why he was previously arrested?
He was arrested on charges that stemmed from Edmonton Police Service and another RCMP detachment that were completely unrelated to our investigation.
And then, I guess, do you know why? I'm trying to remember the first guy. The first
Jimmy
yeah,
Gassner.
Yeah, thank you. Sort of what he was doing in Alberta. Was he arrested here and then left and went back to Saskatchewan, or was he resident of Saskatchewan?
So Jimmy Gassner is from Lloydminster. So, and that's where his roots are. But as you know, he traveled throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan.
So was he known to police then across the wall?
He was known to police in Lloydminster. Yeah.
And then am I just able to ask, are you able to spell the second suspect's first and last name for us?
Yes. So his first name, Deon, D-E-O-N, and his last name is Libsekal, L-I-B-S-E-K-A-L.
Was this a case of mistaken identity by chance, or?
That's one of the things we're still looking into, but I can't say for sure yet at this time.
And are you able to talk at all about the decal on the suspect truck, what it was?
Yeah, so it was a decal. You see it on most vehicles now where decals are sold from a certain dealership. That's what that decal was. It was, I don't have the exact details, but it was like Sherwood Chevrolet or something like that. That's what the decal actually was.
Is this potentially gang-related or something along those lines?
I can say that our victims were true victims that had no criminal history, but our suspects have a criminal history.
And they were maybe potentially gang-related?
There's a possibility, but our victims absolutely are not gang-related.
I think, you've made it clear that there's only certain things you can say before it's, goes before the courts. But I think, we have people, South Asian people, people of color who are afraid that they might be driving on the highway and someone shoots them randomly. I'm just wondering, can you clarify at all what this is? I don't want to, I think people are rightfully very, very alarmed, and that sometimes providing less information causes a lot of public distress. So keeping in mind the balance of the court system, I think, is there anything that you can just put a slightly finer point so that people know what this is?
Yes, for sure. It is alarming that this shooting happened during the daytime. Any shooting in the public is alarming. But I can tell you with certainty, our investigation has shown this is absolutely not racially motivated whatsoever. So it has nothing to do with any type of racial bias. We can say that for sure. We investigated that portion of the file very thoroughly, and we came to the conclusion that it absolutely had nothing to do with that. So I can say that although, our suspect was a white male, the second suspect is not. So, and our victims were also not. But it didn't have anything to do with any type of racial hatred whatsoever.
So, it's easy for someone to infer that it's
Yeah.
some sort of criminal hit or gang hit that then is enacted out against the wrong people by accident.
Yes, and at this point, I can't rule that out at all, but we also can't rule it in at this point. So we're still looking into, different investigative avenues that the investigation to this point has pointed us towards. So it's tough at this point because of the court system at this time, and we have so much of the investigation is still being worked on, and I'm hoping in the near future that we will be able to provide all that information to everybody.
So it's not a hate crime, it's not road rage. Some people have a criminal history, some people are victims,
Yes,
and that's what we know.
yes, yeah.
Are there any more details you can give on just what was happening at the time? Like, were they driving together? Were they driving next to each other? Anything just about what was happening on the roadway just
Yeah.
before the shooting happened?
Yep. I can. So both vehicles were traveling southbound on the QE2. Both vehicles and occupants had nothing to do with each other. And at some point in there, our suspect truck engaged in the black Honda Civic. Like I said, though, they previously had no knowledge of each other until they came upon each other driving south on the highway. And then very quickly, 2 shots were fired.
When you say they engaged, like, can you say, like, how did they engage? Did they wave at him? Like, the World Sikh Organization, the friend in the car said that they wave at him and make some kind of, like, hand signal or something.
So I can tell you that the black Honda Civic was traveling south in the left lane, and the truck was traveling south in the right lane.
Sorry to interject, really, very briefly, I apologize to my speakers. If, for the benefit of everyone who's online, if you could just give a basic summary of the premise of the question, just because a lot of our audio is not picking up the room, which is kind of the point, unfortunately. But
Sure.
if you don't mind that.
Okay.
I really quickly just want to address one question that came online. Did either the suspects know the victim or anyone else in the vehicle? I believe you might have already addressed that, but please go ahead.
Yeah, so neither the victims or the suspects knew each other at all. There was no ties whatsoever.
Is this a case of gang initiation?
No, it is not gang initiation whatsoever.
But it's possibly gang related. The suspects are possibly gang related.
Well, I would say that there's a possibility that the suspects are gang related, but that would be the only portion that's actually gang related.
I think, I'll go back to it in 1 second. I'm very sorry. It's just, I think with regards to motivation, we've gone through the question multiple times now. Same question over and over again. Please refrain from that question anymore. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you actually just list all the motivations you have ruled out and the ones that you haven't ruled out, if you have any, just to make it summarized for us?
Yeah, for sure. So we have ruled out any type of racial bias or racial hatred. We have ruled out any type of robbery, and we have ruled out any road rage and gang initiation also.
And can you tell us if the people who were in that vehicle, if they are in a gang, if you can share which one it is?
Once again, we've been through the question again. We're still investigating that information. So once again, I think it's been answered plenty of times.
Why wasn't it why aren't the charges first degree murder when it was clear that there was a gun that was loaded? And I'm just wondering why second degree over first.
Yeah, so first degree, generally, there's some sort of planning behind it. And in our investigation, we could show that there was absolutely no planning. This was probably occurred and became an incident within 2 minutes.
And the suspects that have been charged, they were sitting in the back, right? They were the 2 people sitting in the back of the truck?
No, there was only 2 people in the truck total,
Okay.
so a driver and a passenger.
And it's the passenger that shot the gun?
At this point, that's what we believe, and that's Jimmy Gassner, we believe, was the passenger. Yes.
And do you know if either of them were speeding? Is alcohol a factor in this investigation?
We can't say that alcohol or drugs were a factor. And to the best of my knowledge from witnesses that provided us information, the speed was around 120 kilometers an hour.
Who owns the Honda Civic?
From my understanding, that is Birinder Singh, our victim.
That is
Yes.
Are you able to share more details about him? Like what he was up to? Like his friends have said that, he had just moved to Edmonton, he was building a life here. Are you able to share just more details about his life?
So at this time, we can say that Birinder was in Canada as an international student, and we can't say which school he was going to. We didn't look into it that far, but that's probably what we can share at this time. In relation to Birinder, yeah, he had not been in Canada that long, but he was here, my understanding was on a student visa.
Did the people in the truck interact with people in the Honda Civic at all before the shooting? And what, if they had met or interacted somewhere like at a roadside stop or they ran into them earlier? Can you tell us what happened before?
So our investigation to this point has shown there's been no interaction until they were driving beside each other.
Is RCMP, I know you see a lot of different types of crimes, but just with you mentioning that this decision could have been made within 2 minutes and how serious this is, it sounds like it was partially random. So how often does RCMP see crimes like this, and really like how alarming is it to see a crime like this?
I would say this type of a crime doesn't happen very often. On a roadway, driving, actually on a highway, driving at those speeds, and two people that have no previous knowledge of each other, those type of crimes do not happen very often. And I would say, and then during the daylight, makes it even more alarming. So even as experienced investigators, we find this type of a crime very alarming. And as most people know, when we're investigating crimes and there's a portion of randomness to it, it makes it very difficult as investigators to investigate that and actually to locate suspects. So to the investigative team on this file, they did an amazing job in the way that we were able to piece together information and identify suspects as quickly, even though it doesn't seem as quick, but as quickly as we did. So, and that has to do with the assistance we gained from the public.
I have one question online, Jackie Carmichael with the Edmonton Journal. She's asking, was there a bet involved with the suspects?
Sorry, can you,
Was there a bet involved with the suspects? That's the target of the question.
a bet?
A bet, yeah.
No, there was no bet involving the two suspects.
Can you be clear about what partially motivated means?
So I'm trying to give you as much as I can without giving you part of what we're still investigating. So I guess partial motivation, I guess, is that we know what we believe is, I would say 75% of their motivation at this point in relation to this crime, but we don't know all of it. It's still being investigating, so I guess that's the inference I make to partial motivation.
Are RCMP in touch with Birinder's like next of kin? Like, do you know if they're in Canada or in India?
Yes, we have been in touch with Birinder's family, and they are not in Canada.
Has his body been sent back to Iraq?
So there was a family friend here that was taking care of that, and he was still working on that last time we were in touch with them, but I'm not sure if his body has been sent back yet, because there's a lot of paperwork when it comes to that.
You said the first suspect is Caucasian, the second suspect isn't Caucasian?
No, he is not.
Can you speak about his racial identity?
Yeah, I could. So Deon Libsekal, I guess, I'm not completely sure of his origins, but he is, I guess I would consider him partially black.
The ages with Gassner being 18, and I miss Lipsickal's age. They're quite young.
Yes.
It just seems like a lot. Like I mean,
Yeah, I guess I could say so Jimmy Gassner was known to the RCMP in Lloydminster. And Deon Libsekal was known to the RCMP in the Beauval, Canoe Lake region. And I would say that he's also known to, and this is Deon, is also known to the Edmonton Police Service. Outside of that, I can't really comment a lot more on their criminal history. They have some criminal history, but again, Jimmy Gassner's so young that until this year, it would have been all youth criminal history.
What, if anything, should the public keep in mind while they're driving on the commute due to this incident?
Well, I don't think we can jump to conclusions in relation to this incident, driving pattern, or anything causing an issue on the highway. I think people just still need to keep in mind the rules of the road and maintain those, really.
And do we have an age for Deon Libsekal? I didn't hear it.
23.
23?
One question online, can you, if you're able to give the nationality or both suspects, are they both Canadian citizens? Is anyone new to Canada?
Yes, so both suspects are Canadian citizens and were born in Canada. Yes.
I think we've kind of gone around on questions. If there's anything, once again, let's anything that's not motive related, go ahead, or racial related, please go ahead.
Sure. What is, someone else have one?
Yes, so as we're talking about any other message for the public, I think you probably think people don't need to be worried about driving on the highway. You don't have to be afraid of this happening again, right? Maybe is there some kind of message for them? This is something that happens all the time. I shouldn't be worried about driving on the highway because something happens.
Yeah, of course. I would love to say that this is a one-off, right? Could it happen again? Possibly. But I can't say that this is in relation to a road rage incident. So I can't say that this had to do with someone else's driving and it was a reaction. So I would just say, to be courteous to each other on the road.
What ultimately is your message to Sikh communities in Edmonton and around Edmonton at this time?
At this time, I would tell the Sikh communities that, and that's a very good question, that this type of an incident, again, had nothing to do with any type of racial bias or motivation against the Sikh community whatsoever. So I would continue to tell the Sikh community that, again, this is a one incident that occurred, and it's a very unfortunate incident, but I would not believe that there is a pattern whatsoever, or this is the beginning of a pattern whatsoever. This is a one-off event, and that if they do have questions, that they should come to the RCMP and talk to us in relation to this event whatsoever.
I think we're pretty much done here. I just want to address one thing too, just give a second here while everyone's here. Just a question that came up with regards to safety on the highway. Once again, as we said, this is something that I personally have never seen this in my career. I mean, yes, my career is only 10 years, but still. So I do want to say, it's not something that is going to happen every day. So apart from being courteous on the road, which, in this case had nothing to do with the investigation, and, just always being kind of aware of your surroundings. That's the most thing. That's what we do all the time when we drive. We're always aware of the people around us. We're always trying to drive safely. So honestly, there's no need to add that level of vigilance or add that level of fear when you're driving, because yes, we can't promise this is never going to happen again. That being said, this is something that is a very rare instance. This doesn't happen often, and I think that, people can still feel safe driving on the road and not have to worry about something like this happening to them on a daily basis.
Can you speak more to the gesture that was made prior to the shooting? We heard from the victim's statements, like to us, that there was a gesture that resembled a peace sign, and then the shooting happened. And I'm just wondering, first, the RCMP aware of that, and if it was a peace sign, or if you could speak more to that.
Okay. That'll be the last question, though. After that, we'll wrap it up.
Yes. No, I can tell you for sure that witnesses in the vehicle and that were at the incident did report that a peace symbol was believed to be shown from the suspects and then returned from the victims.
And the,
So it was like with the fingers, with peace symbol.
and
Yes.
the bullets that were fired, this Birinder had his window up, like did it go through the glass? Because they also said that it hit his neck, like a bullet hit his neck.
So the Honda Civic, all the vehicles were up.
All the windows were up, so it went
Yes.
through the window.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Oh, for me? Yeah, John, John, and Brown, Brown.